So one of me and my girl's favorite pastimes is to watch documentaries. We absolutely love them. We love them together. We love them separately. You understand me? I could watch a documentary every day for the rest of my life and I would be a content man. And one of the more recent documentaries that I watched was titled, what is it? Elvis Presley, The Fall and Rise, which was backwards. I didn't understand it until I watched the context to say they started from like when he started falling from grace, no pun intended for the Elvis fans out there, but he was falling from grace land. And then he had, this skyrocket, like this unexpected just rise into the stratosphere. Kind of like kind of like some of these old school acts, right? There were some who had a huge career young, and then there was a plateau, and then all of a sudden a takeoff, like a Tina Turner, right? Somebody like that. Like a Michael Jackson. When he met, you rock my world, when he came back with those joints, people thought he was kind of fizzled out and all of a sudden, had that rise again. Like there are some artists who have that. Anyway, what really got my attention about this is I always had this story in my head, just mostly because it was the story that was being told amongst, the peoples. And it was that Elvis Presley had stolen these black artists' music. And I believe that. I even watched the Elvis movie and things of that nature. And it kind of reinforced that he just walked into this, bar one day. And, I think it was, who was it? Lil Richard who was in there. Good golly, Miss Molly. He used to get all the way down. So you have Elvis watching that and these different acts and, he's kind of taking note. Then he just steals the music. That was the narrative that's been pushed forever. And it was only when there was a black woman, an older black woman, gospel singer, and she was one of his closest friends from back in the day. And she said, Elvis got this reputation to say, oh, he's taken from black artists. But the black artists at that time knew that he paid homage. As a matter of fact, he was a worshiper and an admirer of black music. And even when he made his comeback, it was because he finally let go of the poppy records and he started to sing from his gospel roots. As a matter of fact, this is a kid who basically grew up in a sardine can of a house. He grew up poorer than poor. This image is always pushed to like white privilege. And you can look at his career and say that was a product of white privilege, and possibly, right? He resonated more with a white audience, especially during Jim Crow, etc. But nevertheless, this was a man who grew up dirt poor. He grew up in the poorest of black neighborhoods, not even in the cities. He grew up in the shanty. His story is that, his pops was trying to, I guess, make ends meet for the family and ends up doing some real shady activities and ends up getting locked up. And so during that time, mom was broke, has nothing. And so they move into the poorest of the poorest. And he used to go down to the church and just listen to the music. He would stand outside the church and just listen and absorb the music. And that was where his soul was. And, that really, it moved me because, again, I'm in this place where I'm accepting truth for what it is, right? As opposed to everything that I've been told. And this is a journey that I've really been on throughout my life, right? I've been a seeker of the truth. They used to call me Why as a little kid. Literally, my nickname was Why because I'd ask why about everything. I'm eternally curious. But there came points in my life where I was becoming so dogmatic about certain identities that I couldn't really shift from them, right? Everything from becoming a freaking dope boy and wanting to be that image of what I thought was black culture for so long, and then shifting into becoming a hippie vegan, for 4 years, and like these different identity crises, I guess, or just trying to find myself until I realized, brother, it's okay to be in a space where you're just continuously discovering and allowing that discovery. And so this is one of those things that kind of shifted my level of awareness and consciousness. And I've already been in this place. A lot of my content highlights this, where I believe that what's holding, most people back, almost all people back from what they desire is the self-induced limiting beliefs. Right? We believe it's something external. We believe it's the government. We believe it's mom and dad. We believe it's this thing. And it's like, yes, they may be a real effect. But as an adult, you have the personal agency, the power within yourself to change your circumstance, your conditions. You change the way in which you think. You change the way in which you act. and you reinforce new habits and you reinforce new belief systems through new actions, your life will change. I've seen my own life change. There's been people who've been following me since maybe I had, a few hundred subs, a few, thousand subs or whatever it is. And the continuous growth has come as a byproduct of me saying, you know what, I have to change the way I look at myself, the way I look at things. Instead of blaming, oh, well, because I'm black Mr. Beast, he's going to get more than me because he's a white dude, da da da. No, I look holistically and be like, bro, the two biggest streamers in the world, right, are Kai Cenat and I Show Speed. These are two black kids, literally, and kids. They're like, to me, they're kids, right? Which is crazy to say, but that's how time works. Time gets to moving, and if you don't move with it, you get left behind. But nevertheless, just hearing that message was something I felt would liberate somebody. Now, I know other people are going to be offended by it and say, nah, but the white man always stole our music. And I would never sit here and tell a lie to say that that didn't happen. Where you have black artists, who had, literal like lyric sheet music from back in the day, because that's how it actually was back in the day, like a copyright or whatever it was a literal copy, right? But ownership of music and things of that nature have not always been advantageous to white, black, to any artist. Like, the music industry has been known for its kind of cannibal ways, right? It would consume its own essentially. But it's also because that was the business model run by these individuals who simply were looking to take advantage of whatever they could, right? To milk as much as they could. And I also will not leave them with the full blame. I'm not that guy either. Again, I try to be as honest and as objective as possible. These are also artists who are just signing deals simply to sign them. I also recently watched a documentary with, God, what is this? It's called Dirty Pop. It's basically the guy who was behind like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, etc. And these boys just signed the contract. They said, I didn't give a damn what it said on there. I just knew this was going to be my opportunity, and they just signed away. They said, I don't give a damn if I'm signing my life away. It's only when they now became adults and, now, oh, where the hell is the money? This don't look right. Where's our half? Whatever. Even in Elvis's life, the man who quote unquote made him, the Colonel, ended up becoming his greatest finesser. So that's not something that's just subject to race only. But I wanted to open up this conversation to say, look, we are always better off working together. Whoever we are, whatever we look like, we are always better off working together. I have had the experience of what it is to fully open up and just say, you know what? I'm willing to take advice, information, to be educated by those who have the information or are in a place that I want to be. Like, when I got started in digital marketing at around 21 years old, 22-ish, maybe when I started my business or got my first LLC, etc. The guy who was my greatest mentor in the space, and I even shared like an office, we got an office together. He had, his own office room. I had my own. And then there was like a main little lobby area. My first like true little office, I was working days and nights in that joint. But the man who was putting me on game looked nothing like me. He was, big old, like, country looking ex-football player, white dude, beard out and stuff like that. Like, drives a truck. He was that type of guy. But yet, because I wasn't stuck in, but racism and the white, because I wasn't stuck in that mentality, I had the ability to learn from this man and, to be fully educated. And so I look at things from that perspective. And I also look at it with the Elvis examples to say that music, which was being unheard and unseen by a large slew of an audience, was now becoming more and more accepted by an audience who otherwise would have seen it as, scary. It's like taking away the Beastie Boys or Eminem from hip hop. They were crucial in its expansion, becoming global, to now where we have brothers who are being paid ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, you get paid what you're worth or what the market thinks you're worth. So it's not ridiculous necessarily. Like, if you make 2 million, then the market is saying 2 million and you deserve that, right? Might not be my cup of tea, but nevertheless, you got these dudes making $1 million, $2 million sometimes a damn show at the highest level. Or even if you're making 50,000, like back in the day, LL Cool J to make $50,000 for a show, that was unheard of. Yet LL Cool J today will be making, at the level of notoriety he was at, be making 500,000, 750K. You know what I mean? Like, being a juggernaut type of act. And so that's why I say we're better off together. We really are. When we look at everything from this lens of, oh man, this dude is corrupt, he's stealing. Yes, there are individuals like that. You have to have personal discernment to figure those things out. But a dude like Elvis, who again is seen as this white man who just took black music, he was able to then bring a Little Richard out. He was then able to bring different artists, Muddy Waters, whoever it may be, artists that he looked up to. He was able to make a platform for these black women, these gospel artists, some of the greatest voices in the world. He was able to bring them onto these stages, in front of people who otherwise would have not accepted them, right? If I was to see some of these Korean rappers, Asian rappers, whatever it is, I'm thankful for that because they create an audience over there. So now you as a black artist, whoever you are, you can go over there and you can share in that success and you can share in the spread of this thing. But again, that takes an open-mindedness. It takes us stepping out of this jadedness, because there is a lot of jadedness, and I get it. Trust me. Trust me. I've seen how my pop's generation, being born in a place like Zimbabwe and growing up in a British colony and only feeling the sense of sovereignty at 1980, right? As early or as recent as 1980, you had colonial a colonial hierarchy over your head, right? You had literal apartheid taking place. So imagine how resentful, jaded you could. I get that. I understand that. But at a certain point, you have to break free from that. And that's been my only message when it comes to these things. Again, I know it's easy to look at me and frame it as, oh, he's trying to beat down black people. He's trying to do this. He's trying to do, oh, he hates, whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm like, if I hated you, I just let your ass suffer. Like, I'm the type of dude, if I don't like you, I just don't talk to you. I don't address you. You don't exist in my peripheral, in my front view, nowhere. I just don't address you. You do not exist to me. But if I have some level of care for you, I'm going to address whatever's going on. That's how I learned it. When I got out of drug addiction, drug abuse, and things of that nature, the people who I realized loved me the most were the ones who were willing to tell me the truth that I didn't want to hear. And so I extend that same thing. I say, man, if they never said nothing, if they shut the hell up the whole time because they were afraid to offend me, like some of the others were, I don't know if I'll be here. I don't. I lost 3 of my best friends to, ODs. And there were some people who were trying to speak to them, but, maybe they weren't willing to hear it for too long. They didn't want to be around it. Just like when I was in that space, I didn't want to hear none of that. You judging me. You don't get me. You don't understand me. And then at a certain point it clicked. And so that's how I see it when I'm speaking in this way. That's simply how I see it. Is you don't have to, I'm not your hero. I'm not your savior. I'm not any of those things, but I am going to tell the truth because I'm beholden to that. My soul is tethered to the truth. I have to tell the truth. I can't not. And so again, I use these messages as a platform. Like when I saw what I saw with the Elvis, I was like, man, that hits. And this needs to be, blasted out because these things act as strongholds to us. It's just like, see more racism, more examples. Instead of seeing more examples of the good, more examples of yes, you can. No Obama, but more, even if you want to just use him, I guess, as an example of, it's like we can aspire towards the highest ideals if we allow ourselves to. If we stop using these constructs and we create elaborate schemes, as first it was just racism, now it's like systemic and microaggressions and intersectionality and all these things. All of that is nothing more than just another reason to not exercise your own personal power. That's why I don't be getting into debates with folks like that. Like, I don't opt into debates. People want to debate sometimes and this and that. I'm like, if it's good faith, maybe at some point. But my point is not to say, oh, is racism real or not? It's not. It's to say, okay, if racism was the biggest problem in the world, how you make it so insignificant in your own life? Because there have been people who came directly out of slavery, directly out of apartheid, who created success for themselves. I got to see that. I got to see that with my own eyes. I got to see a man who was born under the oppression of apartheid, blacks only, whites only. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't be this, you can't be that. And all of a sudden build something. And so, again, I understand that many people are disconnected from, their own personal history. And I'm not talking about just the one you're fed. I'm talking about the one that says, oh, these people built that and these people did this. You got to imagine C.J. Walker become a multimillionaire. And yes, today's standard and today's money, she would be a multimillionaire, right? Right out of slavery, born basically 2 years outside of slavery, and she ends up building this and that. Damn, yes. Yes, because you are capable, because you are more than able. You know, a lot of folks talk about they know God and they got a relationship with God, but then they believe in racism. Who's your God? Is racism your God? Is that, if that's your God, then sure, yeah, let that overpower you. But I believe you have something that's within you. And when you unlock that, nothing else in the way is going to be so vital and so crucial. You won't even have enough energy, time, attention for that thing. You'll be so given over to your purpose and your passion. Period.
I used to be afraid of the dark, a place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. See you through those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3, 6, 5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising. They see your light shine, that's why they so frustrated. Even the sofa in Nova Scotia will win the bagels. I couldn't get them ease on the grease, why they burning up? Money growing trees, feel a breeze, still you showing love. I can dig your energy. Even in the darks, I know you got that inner peace. You can fill a cup again, your limit is infinity. You manifest a life with all the fixings and amenities. This is more or less a house sitting. A sitting on a house like Snoopy. A teacher, no dog, new tricks, that's bliss. Cause there ain't no Charlie Browns in this vicinity. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night.